Please pray with me. May these words that I speak be grounded in my soul, encouraged by the God presence in me. And may these words that you hear be captured by your soul, enlivened by the God presence in you. Amen. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. It's the only thing that there's just too little of. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. No, not just for some, but for everyone. I knew you'd know that. This song, written by Hal David and Burt Bacharach, is now more than 50 years old, written in 1965. Written in the midst of an awakening social consciousness, it resonated in the hearts of all those who yearned, deeply yearned, for a more just and a more peaceful world. Now here we are, more than 50 years later, wondering, have we made any progress in the love department? I have to admit, my conviction that the world is more loving, more compassionate than any other time in history has been challenged by events of the last months and even the last week. This past week there were 2 more, at least, civilian attacks, one in Sweden and one in Russia. A swift and deadly turn occurred in U.S. foreign policy, resulting in airstrikes in Syria. And I learned this week that gun sales are skyrocketing in the U.S. Guns being purchased by women, gays, and people of racial and religious minorities to protect themselves. Yet though my conviction that the world is more loving is on shaky ground, my belief that love and not fear must be my response is stronger than ever. Why? Because I am a follower of Jesus. Though I falter regularly, and sometimes really hard. But as a follower, I know that Jesus would have sung too, what the world needs now is love, sweet love. This, my friends, is what Palm Sunday is all about, or at least it's what it should be all about. We have been so focused for centuries on proclaiming Jesus as King that we have sidestepped or missed altogether that his arriving in Jerusalem was not to proclaim himself as King, but rather to proclaim love as King. Seeing Palm Sunday only as a joyous and triumphal entry into Jerusalem to celebrate the high holy days of Passover is to miss a more important message, that this parade, this ragtag, peasant-led parade, was carefully and intentionally planned. Whether it actually happened or not matters not, for the story is meant to convey to us a deeper and a more universal truth, that love is the nature of God, and love is the only way to abundant life. So how do I know that this message and this parade is carefully planned? Well, it's all about the colt. It's all about the baby donkey. Either Jesus or Mark, the writer of the story, took inspiration from the prophet Zechariah, who proclaimed, "A new king will come, humble and riding on the foal of a donkey, and he shall command peace to all nations." Either Jesus or Mark, or both, knew that this new leader would not triumph by force and violence, but by living and teaching the way of love. And either Jesus or Mark is challenging each of us to join a very different parade. Not one of power over others, where some win and some lose, but one of compassion and compromise, where all are welcome in the name of love. The colt and the ragtag parade of peasant followers was intended to challenge and to rebuke the authority of empire and religious institution that was fear-driven rather than love-driven. And if you still doubt that it was a political act, then hear again the last line of this story in Mark. Because he says, "Then Jesus entered Jerusalem and went into the temple. And when he had looked around at everything, as it was already late, he went out to Bethany with his disciples." Jesus' very public demonstration, his willingness to risk even his life for love, is beginning. His careful surveying of the temple is to prepare for the days to come. His plan to challenge the political and religious regimes, all in the name of love. It seems to me that where we get sidetracked is not taking love seriously enough. I have heard from many of you over the last many months that I talk about love too much. This suggests to me that maybe I do, but it also suggests that we either don't understand the deeper meaning of love and its very central place in the universe, or we don't want to face the reality of love as the true expression of God. I believe that we need to let go. We need to let go of the sentimental, shallow, and familial understandings of love, in the same way that we need to let go of the sentimental, shallow, and familial understandings of God, and embrace love's deeper nature. John O'Donoghue, an Irish poet, author, priest, and philosopher, who died in 2008, way too young, at 52 years of age, says this: "Love is anything but sentimental. In fact, it is the most real and creative form of human presence. Love is the threshold where divine and human presence ebbs and flows into each other." Jesus understood this. My sense is that Jesus is doing more than challenging religious and political authority. By his life and his actions, he is also challenging each of us. The challenge is twofold, in two sets of questions. The one is, whom do you love? And how deeply do you love? And the second is, what do you love? And how expansive is that love? Where I find myself falling short of the love target is when it falls outside of family, friends, and acquaintances. Once I'm in the realm of others, particularly others with differing values and ideals, then love becomes more challenging. And yet, that is the very heart of discipleship. To love the other, no matter what. It seems to me that love too often takes a back seat in our lives. And John O'Donohue, who I decided to quote today because I've been quoting Richard Rohr forever, and we needed a break. Also, and I don't mean that to be facetious, he also says some really profound things, I think. But John O'Donohue captures this backseat notion of love really well when he says this: "It is strangely ironic that the world loves power and possessions. You can be very successful in this world, be admired by everyone, have endless possessions, a lovely family, success in your work, and have everything that the world can give. But behind it all, you can be completely lost and miserable. If you have everything the world has to offer, but you do not have love, then you are the poorest of the poorest of the poor." Every human heart hungers for love. If you do not have the warmth of love in your heart, there is no possibility of real celebration and enjoyment. No matter how competent, self-assured, or respected you are, no matter what you think of yourself or what others think of you, the one thing you deeply long for is love. No matter where we are, who we are, or what kind of journey we are on, we all need love. He could have written the Burt Bacharach Helping song. Jesus knew this. Jesus got this in a really profound way. This is why he lived so fully and with so much joy in the midst of an overwhelming oppression and violence. This is why he borrowed a colt and with his friends took the very political journey to Jerusalem, all in the name of and for the celebration of love. One more time, O'Donohue offers, "The soul needs love as the body needs air. In the warmth of love, the soul can be itself." I love that. All the possibilities of your human destiny are asleep in your soul. You are here to realize and honor these possibilities. When love comes into your life, unrecognized dimensions of your destiny awaken and blossom and grow. Sounds like resurrection to me. Our Palm Sunday story calls us to more than a proclamation of Jesus as King. It calls us to honor Jesus as one who knew clearly that big love embodied and lived out is the only expression of God. We are being called to transformation and ultimately to resurrection in the days before us. May we find our souls singing, and may we find ourselves joining that joyous parade of celebration. And may this be the song that we sing one day. Oh, the world is full of love, big love. No, not just in some, but in everyone. And in every day and every moment before us, may we hear Jesus' challenge to live big love. Amen.